good. I'm good. No funny names for you today. You know why?
Why?
Because I'm going to introduce you as How Do You Brews Brewer, Master Brewer,
Oh,
Head Brewer.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is why. This goes up.
Is that what it is now?
I think so.
Okay.
We've had Jim Rosenkrantz, esteemed beer judge, come in and taste it. He loved
Jim
it.
tried it. Really?
And he was shocked that it was Pilly Sour.
Really?
But he thought it was great.
Awesome.
And pronounced that it was a ghost.
Okay. He knows. He knows better than any of us.
It's great, man. I love this beer.
I do too, and I generally don't like sours too much, but
Right.
I figure we want to brew beer for everybody.
Right.
Can't let our own tastes get in the way of that, so
Yep.
started to figure some stuff out about sours.
Yeah, well, I did already mention, I let the cat out of the bag that was Pilly Sour. So
Right.
What we know about this guy?
So Pilly Sour, let me get into a little bit about sours in general.
Okay.
Sours in general, with obviously there are outliers and exceptions to all of this, but they get their flavor from the production of lactic acid.
Mm-hmm.
That's that flavor that's in the sour. That's what gives it its
Right.
signature character, as opposed to like a citrus type of acid, a lactic
Right.
acid. Kind of tastes yogurty almost.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is the main driver of that lactic acid and that flavor is a bacteria called lactobacillus. Now, you at home listening, you're going to say, well, I thought yeast made beer.
Yeah.
And Saccharomyces, the strain of yeast mostly used,
Right.
does in fact do that. But when you introduce the presence of a bacteria, which generally you don't want to do in beer making, but for sour making, you introduce the bacteria lactobacillus, which will convert glucose into lactic acid, and it'll give it that sour flavor.
Yeah.
If you have like old style sours, Rodenbach Grand Cru is a really good example of one. Berliner Weisses, they're all sour. They sort of use that lactobacillus addition. And really what it's a matter of is just not keeping a firm handle on sanitation.
Right.
If you just sort of do an open fermentation, lactobacillus is literally everywhere. It'll get in and it'll start to produce that.
So most beers were trying to sort of keep bacteria out, but historically sours were the sort of a conscious addition of bacteria
Right.
to create that lactic acid.
Yeah, either the conscious addition or just not keeping as firm doing an open fermentation. You hear about open fermentations. They'll produce sours way more frequently than closed fermentations will, just because
Like
it's
in
not
the really
as
old school Belgians and stuff where
Right,
they're just
yeah.
going for it. So that kind of kept sours in a way out of the reach of homebrewers for a long time.
It did.
Because you didn't want to get sort of bacteria in your stuff.
Right, striking a fine balance of making sure that you're, being sanitary, either adding, getting a hold of your own lactobacillus or just doing a very controlled infection almost, sort of kept it out of reach. What a lot of brewers do now is they'll actually add lactose, milk sugar, into the beer to give this lactobacillus, this bacteria, more food, sort of more just direct juice just to turn directly into lactic acid, which gives it that sour flavor. Now, ours is a little bit different. So again, classical sours, you use Saccharomyces yeast, which is a fungus, and also lactobacillus bacteria together, mixed fermentation, to produce a sour beer. This one, with the Pilly Sour, this actually uses something called Lacinaceae, which is a fungus, which is a yeast that produces lactic acid. So as opposed to using two different types of bacteria and a yeast, you're using a single fungus, a single yeast, to convert your glucose. If you want to add lactose, you can certainly do that as well, to convert your sugars into alcohol, but also into lactic acid, which will give it a tart, sour flavor. This sour we made is not particularly sour. It's nice and smooth. It's got a bit of a tartness to it, but it's definitely not a puckery type of beer.
Right. And it's right where I like a sour. I'm not a huge sour guy, but this lands really on a lot of things that I like about a beer like this. And doing it homebrew style with the Pilly Sour means that Pilly Sour works just like you're just pitching it just like a regular yeast.
Exactly.
It's a yeast that creates beer. Creates alcohol, but also creates a little bit of lactobacillus or lactic acid.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about all those two parallel systems for doing sour. You can just do it in your regular system.
Yeah, I think it's a great starter sour. I like the way this tastes, so I personally wouldn't change. I wouldn't go to a different fermentation style because it might alter the flavor to a point where I'm like, that's not really for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great way. We have the kit available here to buy, so if you want to jump into sour making, just let us know. I think we're calling this one Sourprisingly Good.
That's good. Congratulations. That's a great beer. Come and get some.
Cheers.
To our viewers. Also, a couple of items to note. Fresh wine juice season again. It's going to be available. It's going to arrive the last week of September, first week in October. So we need to get those orders in. We're just, just one pallet this time. So hurry up. Upcoming classes, we got September 15th, Blue Earl. We're going down to Kent County.
Oh boy.
It should be a fun one. Ronnie Earl is a funny guy. He's an old salt of Delaware brewing. He goes way back, and his stories are pretty interesting. So.
And the Delaware blues scene.
Oh yeah, the Delaware blues scene.
Yeah, he's got his hands in a lot. He's good at it all.
Yeah. That reminds me, we went to Dew Point, and that was a brewery that I'd really been meaning to go to that I never went to. So we finally got there. What breweries are you trying to get to this fall?
Oh man, wherever I can, honestly. I'm trying to get out more. I finally got to Wilmington Brew Works last week and had a blast.
Yeah.
I used to...
The first time since COVID, or the first time?
First time ever.
Oh wow.
And I actually grew up in that neighborhood. I used to go to school at PS DuPont, so I would ride my bike past this old, burnt out, like southwestern looking building that was like a brown site. Just all the time thinking, man, that needs to be something. even when I was in 5th grade, that needs to be something. Yeah. So I'm glad that it's like that area has been developed. It's turned into something so good. And I mean, Craig and all those guys at Wilmington Brew Works are great. So I wish them the best.
They're making some great beer. So that's a good one. I still a lot of brews on my list here in Delaware that I haven't been to that I'd like to go to. I haven't been down to Mississippian yet, although I've drank a lot of their beers. It keeps coming up on our Delaware beers. So, yeah, cool. If you haven't been to Blue Earl, maybe this is a good opportunity. September 5th, we'll get the tour, we'll get the flight, and we'll get some beer insights from Ronnie. And we're going to start having classes back in the store for very sort of like getting started classes. Brewing 101, if you know somebody or you want to get started in brewing. Also, speaking of getting started in brewing, November 6th, we're going to have a big brew day. So a lot of people are going to come out here and do their brew day, and that's in conjunction with Learn to Brew, big national Learn to Brew day. So
awesome.
Bring your, if you can, if your setup's mobile, bring it down. We're going to brew a bunch of beers and bring somebody who hasn't brewed before. So that's about it. Thanks, Alan. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, King Gambrinus. Good luck. Yeah, you have to do that so your next beer's
Yeah, absolutely.
See you. Thanks.